Hello, I'm David Matusiak, and I'm an information security consultant. I'm here to speak to you today about the privacy constraints of the modern internet. They have spying and surveillance here on the board, but when Heather spoke to me about it, she said it was spying versus sharing. So I hope that's close enough for you all. Let's see.
One more.
Okay, so I'm speaking to you today on behalf of North Carolina InfraGard. Briefly, it's a partnership between the FBI and private industry to protect our nation's critical infrastructures. There are 16 sectors that they focus on, ranging from banking and finance to energy sector, including oil and gas and nuclear. And so that's what I do in my spare time when I'm not at work. So today, spying versus sharing, a very popular topic, and hope you'll all enjoy it. Oops. So we'll start with sharing. Everybody loves to share online, and that's part of the value that we get from the internet. Let's see, we have social media out there, we've got blogging, we have photo galleries, things like that, and there's a lot that can be revealed from your activity online. Part of sharing is networking, and over time we build our personal networks, and there's usually one or two people that you can communicate with at a time and share information. However, things get really interesting when you start sharing in the online world. You've got Facebook, Twitter, YouTube videos, all of that. So you have to be careful with sometimes with what you're sharing. Again, out there we have our email, we have our contacts, we've got tweets, likes, everything. So even if you're not concerned with your own privacy, you may be concerned with that of the people that you're connecting with. And I just wanted this slide in there because everything is moving into the cloud. And one thing that we don't often consider is that data is stored well out of our control. So as we all start sharing and learning more about each other, the potential risk may increase for who you're sharing with. Do you really know them? And what would that impact your life? So one thing I like to think about is the concept of like versus trust. A lot of us will click that we like a band or a political movement or something on Facebook, and you have to think about, do you really trust the person or organization that you're liking? Because that may be a factor in the future if people review that information. So again, when you're clicking on the like, you have to think, what could this potentially reveal about me? And are there ways that anyone would want to use that against me? Trust can be kind of erased or blurred at this point because we don't always know the people we connect with, especially younger people today. In the race to get the most friends or Twitter followers, you'll just accept friendships from anybody. So you really have to think about, who can you trust online? So one common component of spying and sharing is privacy. I used to think that I knew what privacy was, but I'm not so certain anymore. Privacy is a very personal thing. You can do a search on privacy, but you may not find what you're looking for. Even our Constitution does not provide many protections against surveillance or spying. As you can see here, it protects against a certain amount of government intrusion, but it doesn't do much to protect you from other citizens or corporations. In fact, we don't have a federal privacy law. Some states, like Massachusetts, have their own law, but nothing to cover us nationwide. So it's essentially up to each citizen to know who's watching you online and that not much on the internet is private. Cyber attacks are happening every single day to universities, large corporations, certainly our government and military. So what is the biggest threat to your privacy? Okay, I'll give you a hint. Any ideas?
You yourself.
Hackers. Hackers is what you should believe that are the biggest threat to your privacy. That's what we hear about a lot. This here is clearly a hacker. As you can see, he's in a suit, he's got his mask on, protecting his identity. Again, he's working with thick leather gloves, so he has that tactile feel on the keyboard. You got the flashlight out because we only work at night. Now, if you listen to media, they'll portray it that your biggest fear for hacking is anonymous. This is a group that sprung up in retaliation against the Scientology religion several years ago, and now they've become kind of a loose conglomerate of mediocre attackers on the internet. And they're more of a harassment or ankle biter than anything else. But they've shown up in all kinds of places, and the Guy Fawkes mask is very common that they wear. In fact, it even made a big debut at the Occupy Wall Street movement. A lot of people were hiding their identities with the Guy Fawkes mask. So Anonymous has taken a lot of heat for the things they've done online, and most of that is well justified. But the media makes them out to be some sort of cyber boogeyman that's coming for you at all times. I'm not sure that I buy all that. And then whatever actions they take will lead to doom and essentially destruction of the whole planet. Again, I'm not certain that that is the case. So there's white hat hackers, right? The people who explore technology for good and are trying to break things and improve things prior to it being a threat. They're out there to protect us, right? Maybe. Who else might be considered a threat to your privacy? Very good, very good.
Your family.
What does your family reveal about you online? Right, I hadn't written that in there. Well, it could be your boss who's monitoring the corporate network and wants to know what you're actually doing during your workday. It could be a neighbor who is spying on your Wi-Fi or using it for free internet access, other nefarious purposes. But who has the power to reach into your computer, truly monitor what you're doing, and steal whatever information they want?
NSA.
I'll give you a hint.
NSA.
Okay, I'll give you another hint. So the National Security Agency has a widespread apparatus to monitor all electronic communications on the planet. It's not just geared towards US citizens. They're located in Maryland, and basically what they do is try and gather as much information as they can to protect national security. They may be the only part of the government that actually listens, and they certainly are listening. So essentially, what they want to do is gather all this information to do a better job at predictive intelligence. They want to know what actions they need to take in advance to prevent terrorist attack or destabilization of our economy or a variety of things. There's a lot of citizens that are concerned exactly what the NSA is looking at and how that may impact US citizens. Their goal is to slurp in all the information they possibly can and comb through it for any indicators or details, and then catalog that information for all time. So that's part of what concerns me the most, is that your electronic record would never go away. So what they do, they take all of your online browsing behavior, your text messages, your downloads, certainly anything you're doing with a credit card, and they throw it all into this big salad spinner in Utah. And it spins and spins, and then it's supposed to spit out on the other side a list of all the bad people that go on the terrorist watch list. The level of effectiveness here, as we've heard some stories for benign people being pulled over at the airport and not allowed to travel, it just shows you how errant-based or human-based this system is. So they came up with this awesome plan to gather all this information, and they called it Prism. They actually came up with a whole bunch of plans, Prism, Marina, and Nucleon, and through these programs they wanted to create different types of monitoring. Some is for phones, some is for electronic. And this is the NSA surveillance octopus. As you can see, all kinds of internet tap points, satellite hubs, and undersea cable taps, they have it all covered. So there's not much that happens electronically that they don't have some record of. This is a map of the fiber optic lines that go across the Atlantic and other oceans and between countries. that are likely tapped and monitored. Part of what they're doing is to capture cell phone communications, and as far as I can tell, the NSA has done a fabulous job of that. A lot of people wonder, exactly what is being uploaded, what is being monitored, and what's happening with this data. As part of the cell phone monitoring, a lot of political figures were caught up in this dragnet, including Angela Merkel from German Chancellor. So I doubt she was very happy about that. They did some side work with the GC HQ in the United Kingdom. Essentially, they created a program called Optic Nerve. This was to spy on Yahoo webcam users. Again, this is all done under the guise of preventing terrorism and finding different insurgent factions. Many companies participated in Prism, and they were likely unable to inform their customers by law. So, if you use the internet, or if you use a bank card or a cell phone, all of that is being highly monitored, and all of it says something about you, your behavior, your personality, and your makeup. A lot of people were very upset about this when it came to light, and they wanted the spying to stop. All the NSA had to do was change their logo for Prism and come up with a better spokesperson, and suddenly it was a #1 hit. So this is essentially, they're trying to capture messages like this. Yo, let's go do some illegal stuff. Okay. It's now, multiple people are involved, it's now a conspiracy, so we have to investigate this. In essence, the NSA or some government agency has been monitoring communications for 100 years plus, going back to teletype and your plain old copper line telephone systems. So not much has changed, it's just more the breadth and reach they have that is more threatening now. What's odd is The Simpsons predicted all this as far back as 2007. Lisa Simpson absolutely knew what she was talking about, so just wanted to point that out. This one is just for comic relief because I'm a police fan and I thought that was pretty funny. So your hackers are out there, this lone guy at a computer smoking cigarettes and drinking Mountain Dew. This is the person that we're all afraid of. But in reality, more than the lone hacker with a grudge, the people who would be doing this are likely hostile nation states and other targeted groups and crime syndicates like the Russian business network. Does this mean all of our privacy has been shredded? I would say not, but we live in a very surveillance-friendly country. Let me see. The United States increasingly is becoming one of the most monitored societies. Everywhere we go, we're on camera. London is probably the most monitored and recorded city in the world. Now, with all these cameras and the security, we have an expectation that we'll be protected and that there's security there. That's how people buy into it, into the being surveilled. But ultimately, it just winds up us being one nation under closed caption television. So who watches the watchers, if anybody? Who recognizes this guy? That's Edward Snowden. He's the now famous hacker who got information from the NSA and then released it bits at a time over the course of the last year. So Snowden was able to social engineer people into providing their usernames and passwords so that he could dig even deeper into the NSA archives and gather all this information. Even Anonymous has had their own issues with remaining not so anonymous. These 4 people, along with 12 others, were arrested for hacking crimes, and most of them received sentencing. So how does all this spy stuff get on your computer? It's malware. There's a variety of different malwares, from viruses, trojans, and worms to phishing campaigns designed to get you to click on stuff in your email. Now, these attackers are relying on you to click on the links or files or images that they're sending you. That's one of the strongest ways for them to get their point across. And if you see this key on your keyboard, you are in trouble. Malware is written by folks who just stare at screens like this all day, and they're looking for tiny bits of exploitable code in the software that we run all day, every day. They have entire malware life cycles where they go through and spin up all kinds of operating systems and then do automated attacks against them to ensure that their attacks will work. It's a whole industry, to be honest with you. Their whole goal is to get these giant blue translucent sticky balls to attach to your computer, and then they own that system and can do what they want. While I was searching for this presentation for malware images, a site actually tried to send me an image that was infected, and here's a screen capture of Kaspersky antivirus allowing me to block it, detecting the file. What are they after? They're after your money. That's plain and simple. They either want your cash or they want a way to use your system to make money. So my advice would be protecting your financial info should be a top of mind concern. Besides just your finances, you might worry about your personal reputation and what could happen to that. So who knows what HackerCat would post about you online. One example is of a malware attack was DNS Changer from 2011. Started out over 800,000 systems were infected. This malware allowed the users to change the DNS settings on your computer and router, basically redirecting you anywhere they wanted to. If you thought you were going to your bank or to your email provider, they would actually just create a portal that looked like it long enough to get to steal your credentials. After years of hard work by many people, they got it down to 250,000. They stopped tracking it in July 2012. Presumably the numbers have gone down, but it's just an example that over years with concerted effort, these botnets tend to live on. Now, the Karna botnet was last year, and that was a researcher who they were looking for routers with blank or default passwords, and that allowed them to take them over and make changes to any settings they wanted. As you can see from this map, the exposure that he was able to gain was enormous. Just last week was the Heartbleed OpenSSL attack that allowed, the little lock icon we always see that we're protected by. This exploitable bug allowed them to basically read that information and get extra information from the web server. It'll take months, if not years, to fully remediate this for companies that have OpenSSL embedded in their products. So how do you, in the era of online sharing and modern internet, how do you protect yourself online? Step one, use complex passwords that are unique to every site that you use. I know this is a headache. To manage this complexity, I recommend a encrypted secure password management utility like 1Password or KeePass. Very valuable. Number two, you can secure your browser. You can pick just one of your browsers and use it for your random internet browsing, and with that you add on NoScript or AdBlock Plus, other add-ons that are designed to keep clickjacking and other web-based threats at bay. Thirdly, I would recommend that you're selective with when and where you provide your personal information and to use common sense. If you weren't expecting an attachment, don't open it. If you're on a site and it pops up saying you need to install this video player or a malware solution, and exit that browser session immediately. Don't give it anything. But my advice with basic protections in place is to keep calm, don't panic. You're generally going to be okay, especially if you follow some basic rules. Now, if you think about sharing highly sensitive or highly personal information online, please don't do it, because once it's out there on the internet, it's out there forever. So I think that sharing is a very valuable thing, and I think it's one special thing about the internet. It brings the world closer together. So I hope we do more of that, and thank you.